Most of us think that the safest decision is the one that will cost us the least. We keep quiet, don't get involved, wait until somebody else deals with it, avoid having that difficult conversation we need to have, stay where we're most comfortable. But Esther chapter 4 asks us a difficult question that actually throws that theory completely out the window. What if it's keeping quiet that costs us more? If we haven't met before, I'm Aaron. I'm a student minister in the Church of Scotland, and I was preaching on this very passage from Esther just on Sunday there. And that was the thought that we kept thinking about. Esther found herself in a position where she could possibly speak up and make a difference. However, that speaking up came with a genuine risk. Remaining silent seemed like it would be the best option for her. Now, most of us will never face anything as dramatic as Esther did or as deadly, but we will still encounter that in our faith lives all the time. We know there's a conversation that we need to have. There's somebody who needs our support. We know that something is wrong or something needs to be challenged. We sense that God is prompting us towards doing something, but we're afraid of failing or we're afraid of looking foolish. And so we wait. Sometimes waiting is a wise choice. Sometimes we genuinely need more time to think about it and to pray. But other times, what we call waiting is really just avoiding it and hoping the situation will disappear so that we don't have to do anything about it. One of the most challenging things Mordecai tells Esther is that remaining silent will not necessarily keep her safe in the long run. Her position in the palace might make her feel like she's protected, but it can't completely separate her from what is happening outside. Keeping silent is rarely ever a neutral act. There are moments when saying nothing allows something harmful to continue on. There are opportunities that will disappear simply because we are too frightened to take them. And there are relationships that will remain damaged forever if nobody is willing to have a difficult conversation. Not making a decision is still making a decision in and of itself. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to offer our opinion on absolutely everything. The world certainly doesn't need more people charging into every situation convinced that they can somehow be the hero. What it does mean, though, is that we should be honest about why we are remaining silent. Are we being patient and wise, or are we simply afraid of what obedience might cost us? Mordecai gave Esther the famous challenge that perhaps she had reached her position for such a time as this. And that verse is often turned into just a general inspirational slogan. But in Esther's story, in her case, it is about more than that. It's about responsibility too. Perhaps she's not been given this position simply for her own comfort and enjoyment. Perhaps she has been placed somewhere where she can actually help other people. And the same may be true of each of us. You might have experience that allows you to understand what somebody else is going through. You might have influence in a particular room where people are not being heard. You might have resources, opportunities, or relationships that could be used to help someone else. The question is not, what have I been given? It's, what could I do with what I've been given? That's the one we should be asking. Esther is still frightened and afraid, and rightly so. Her courage doesn't mean that she's pretending all the consequences that she might face aren't real. It doesn't mean that her anxiety suddenly disappears or that everything is suddenly easy for her either. Courage means, though, that fear is no longer the one making our decisions for us. Esther also doesn't know how things are going to turn out for her. Mordecai says, who knows? There is no detailed promise that she will succeed and everything will end happily ever after. There is no guarantee that she'll even be protected from the consequences of her decisions. She must decide what faithfulness looks like without being able to see how it will turn out. That is often why we struggle. We want that certainty before we act. We want to know that the conversation will go well, that the new opportunity will work out for us in the end, or that other people will understand our decisions. But faith rarely gives us the entire plan in advance. Usually we are only ever shown just one or two of the steps. Before Esther takes that step, she asks her people to fast with her. She doesn't rush in impulsively to the decision, and she doesn't try to manufacture courage by herself. She stops. She seeks out God, and she asks her community to stand with her. And that is an incredibly important part of this puzzle that we need to remember in our own lives. Because if you are facing a difficult decision, you don't need to face it alone. You can pray about it. You can take time to think about it. You can speak with other people you trust and ask others to pray with you. Courage is often formed in secret and with others before it is ever seen publicly. Now, Esther eventually reached the point where she says, "If I perish, I perish." And that's not a death wish on her part. It's not a reckless bravado that she's got here. It's that Esther has accepted she cannot control the outcome. She can only do what she believes is right. And Jesus speaks about something similar in Luke chapter 9 when he says, "Whoever tries to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for my sake will save it." Again, that doesn't mean that we should seek out danger as Christians or ignore healthy boundaries or allow other people to mistreat us. What it means is that comfort and self-preservation can't become the most important part of our lives. If protecting our reputation stops us telling the truth, then that protection is costing us something. If a fear of rejection stops us showing love to others, then that protection is costing us something. If fear of failure stops us using the gifts that God has given us, then that protection is costing us something. So perhaps there are 3 questions that we should be asking ourselves here. What is it that I'm trying to protect? What is protecting it already costing me? And what is the next faithful step I can take? You don't need to manufacture your own dramatic Esther type moment. Your next step might be just sending a message. It might be making an apology or offering help to someone. It might be telling the truth or finally being something that you have delayed becoming because of others. You don't need to have certainty about everything that will happen or how it will go afterwards. All you need is enough courage to take one faithful step. Because sometimes the greatest cost does not come from taking a risk. Sometimes it comes from spending our lives trying to remain safe. So this week, ask yourself, what am I trying to protect? What is it already costing me? And what is the next faithful step that I can take? And if you've made it this far in the video, then let me know in the comments, what do you find the harder thing to do? Is it taking the first step, or is it knowing how things will turn out? Thanks for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.